So, what does it really take to wield power? I'm not just talking about getting it, but using it effectively and, well, ethically. For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with this, with the really uncomfortable morality that comes with leadership. Together, we're going to walk that ethical tightrope.
It really boils down to a fundamental choice, doesn't it? Is it better to be loved, or is it better to be feared? Do you stick to your ideals no matter what happens, or do you focus on getting results, even if it means you have to get your hands a little dirty? This is the core dilemma we're diving into.
Let's start way back in Renaissance Italy with a guy named Niccolo Machiavelli. His famous, or maybe infamous book, The Prince, wasn't some abstract philosophy. No, it was a brutally practical playbook on how to actually rule. See, Machiavelli saw a ruler's world as this constant battle between two huge forces. On one side, you've got what he called virtue. And listen, that's not virtue like being a good person. It's your skill, your grit, your sheer ability to impose your will on the world. And on the other side, you've got fortuna, which is just pure luck, fate, the circumstances you can't control. A great prince, Machiavelli said, is someone who uses their virtue to basically tame and master fortuna. This whole worldview is captured perfectly in one of his most famous lines: "All armed prophets have conquered, and the unarmed ones have been destroyed." To put it simply, having noble ideas is totally useless if you don't have the power to actually enforce them.
And that brings us to his most crucial point. On that big question, loved or feared, he is crystal clear. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Why? Well, love is fickle. People can stop loving you. But fear is a constant you can rely on. And that right there is our baseline for the cold, hard calculus of power.
Okay, now let's jump forward a few hundred years to a totally different world. The sociologist Max Weber saw a new kind of power emerging, not on a battlefield, but in the modern economy. He argued that the rise of capitalism wasn't just about money changing hands. It demanded a brand new moral code. Weber called this new code the spirit of capitalism. And this is really important. This wasn't just about greed. He saw it as a moral duty, an ethical obligation to systematically increase your wealth and to pursue it like a professional calling, a vocation. And you know who Weber saw as the perfect example of this spirit? Someone like Benjamin Franklin. All those sayings, remember that time is money, credit is money, they weren't just clever business tips. For Weber, they represented a whole new moral universe, where being diligent and punctual and profitable, well, those weren't just practical things to do. They were core virtues. Weber just nails this idea down when he wrote that earning money becomes the results and the expression of virtue and proficiency in a calling. All of a sudden, the whole game shifts from a prince's raw physical power to a professional's moral devotion to their work. So, how does all this circle back to politics? Well, Weber took these modern insights and applied them to the leaders of the state, and he found that they face these new ethical burdens that Machiavelli, frankly, never even had to think about. And here is Weber's famous, and I mean famous, definition of the state. He says it's a community that successfully claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force. And that word, legitimate, is everything. See, unlike Machiavelli's prince, the modern state needs its people to believe its power is justified. And to wield this legitimate force, Weber says a politician needs 3 key qualities. First, passion for a cause. Second, a deep sense of responsibility for the real-world consequences of your actions. And third, proportion. That's the inner calm to see reality for what it is. And here's the kicker. These 3 things are almost always at war with each other. And that tension, that brings us right to the core conflict, what you could call the impossible choice at the very heart of modern politics. Look, Weber doesn't pull any punches here. He's blunt. He says politics operates with a diabolical tool: violence. The second you decide to enter politics, you are making a pact with infernal powers. You are agreeing to use a tool that is, by its very nature, morally compromising. So this sets up a massive clash between 2 different kinds of ethics.
On one hand, you have the ethic of conviction. This is where you act on pure principle, no matter what. If the result is bad, well, that's the world's fault, not yours. But on the other hand, you have the ethic of responsibility. This is where you think about the foreseeable results of what you do, and you take personal responsibility for those consequences. So, which is it? Do you follow your ideals, or do you manage the outcomes?
And this is why Weber gives this really stark warning. He who seeks the salvation of the soul should not seek it along the avenue of politics. The job just requires compromises that a pure soul cannot make. It's as simple as that.
But here's the thing. For Weber, a great leader doesn't just pick one. The true politician, the true statesman, is someone who can unite both ethics. They have to have the fire of conviction to give them direction, but also the cool-headedness of responsibility to guide their hand. They have to live with that impossible tension every single day.
Weber had this incredibly powerful metaphor for what this work actually feels like. He said, politics is a strong and slow boring of hard boards. Think about that. It's difficult, it's frustrating, it's exhausting work, and it demands both the passion to keep pushing and the perspective to see it all the way through. And so, this is where we end up, with this powerful image of what true leadership looks like. It's a mature person who, having weighed all the consequences, all the responsibilities, finally arrives at a point where they say, "Here I stand. I cannot do other." And that moment, Weber says, where responsibility and conviction finally merge into one action, that is something genuinely human and deeply moving.